The Cole Foundation. After all these years, just seeing that name makes my heart race like I'm 22 again, standing in that crowded college courtyard, falling in love for the first time. "Mommy, look!" Jack's voice snaps me back to reality as he proudly holds up his latest masterpiece, a swirl of blues and greens that somehow perfectly captures the ocean view outside our gallery windows. "It's us at the beach!" I swallow hard, forcing a smile as I take in his familiar features. Those eyes. God, those eyes. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. We'll hang it right here in my office." The afternoon sun streams through the gallery's bay windows, casting long shadows across the polished hardwood floors. Another typical day at Salt and Light. Except nothing about today feels typical anymore. My carefully constructed world, the one I've built brick by brick over the past 6 years, suddenly feels as fragile as the crystal sculptures in our front display. Lila Matthews, Sarah, our newest intern, pokes her head into my office. "The courier needs your signature for the new Williams collection." "Of course." I rise from my desk, straightening my pencil skirt, an armor of professionalism I wear like a second skin these days. As I walk through the gallery, my heels clicking against the floor, I catch my reflection in one of the massive windows. I look put together, confident, successful. No one would guess that beneath this carefully curated exterior, my heart is thundering with the knowledge that Alex Cole is about to walk back into my life. Jack trails behind me, humming the theme song from his favorite cartoon. He doesn't know that his world is about to shift on its axis. Doesn't know that the father he's asked about countless times over dinner and bedtime stories is about to materialize in our small coastal town. "Mommy, can we have ice cream after the big party?" Jack asks, referring to the upcoming charity gala that's about to turn our lives upside down. I run my fingers through his dark hair, so like his father's, and manage a nod. "Sure, baby. Ice cream sounds perfect." What I don't say is that by then, everything might be different. By then, Alex will know he has a son. By then, the courier holds out his tablet, waiting for my signature, and I realize I've been standing there, lost in thought. I quickly scrawl my name, my hand trembling slightly. 6 years of secrets. 6 years of raising our son alone. 6 years of wondering if I made the right choice by not trying harder to reach him, after all my initial attempts went unanswered. And now, in just 3 days, Alex Cole, brilliant, passionate, completely unaware he's a father Alex, will walk through these very doors for the charity gala. And all the walls I've built, all the stories I've told myself about being strong enough to do this alone, might just come crumbling down around me. But first, I have a gallery to run, a son to raise, and somehow, I need to figure out how to face the man I never stopped loving without completely falling apart. The gallery sparkles under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, and I'm grateful for Sarah's insistence that I wear this midnight blue gown. At least I look composed on the outside, even if my insides are twisting into impossible knots. "Mommy, my tie is itchy," Jack whispers, tugging at the bow tie that matches his little suit perfectly. He looks so handsome, so grown up, and so heartbreakingly like his father that I have to catch my breath. "Just a little longer, sweetheart, I promise," smoothing his hair. "Why don't you go find Mrs. Peterson? I think she brought those chocolate cookies you love." As Jack scampers off, I turn to greet another donor and freeze mid-step. Time stops. The ambient chatter fades to white noise because there he is. Alex Cole stands in the entrance, and 6 years haven't changed him a bit. Well, maybe they have. He's more polished now. His suit probably costs more than my monthly rent. But his eyes, those piercing blue eyes that I see every day in our son's face, they're exactly the same. He's scanning the room, probably looking for the gallery director, and I consider making a run for it, but then it happens. His gaze finds mine, and the world tilts on its axis. I watch as recognition floods his features, followed by something else, something that makes my heart stutter in my chest. He takes a step forward, then another, and I'm rooted to the spot, unable to move, unable to breathe. Layla. My name on his lips sounds exactly the same as it did 6 years ago when we'd whisper to each other under starlit skies on campus. I had no idea. I mean, I saw the gallery name, but I never thought. Alex, I managed to keep my voice steady, professional. Welcome to Salt and Light. He's close enough now that I can smell his cologne, different from college, but still distinctively him. You look. He pauses, searching for words. Amazing. You look amazing. Thank you. I clutch my champagne flute like a lifeline. The Foundation's support means a lot to the gallery. Is that really what we're going to talk about? His voice drops lower, more intimate. After all this time? Before I can respond, a small voice pipes up behind me. Mommy, Mrs. Peterson said I could have 2 cookies. The color drains from Alex's face as Jack appears at my side, his little face beaming with chocolate-smeared joy. I watch as Alex's eyes move from Jack to me, then back to Jack. I see the moment it hits him. The identical blue eyes, the familiar set of the jaw, the timing. Mommy, he whispers. And there's a world of questions in that single word. Jack, sweetie, my voice trembles slightly. Why don't you go show Mrs. Peterson your new drawing in my office? But Jack, suddenly shy, presses against my leg, looking up at Alex with curious eyes. Are you the man from the big picture in the newspaper, the one helping our gallery? Alex drops to one knee, putting himself at Jack's eye level, and my heart nearly stops. I am, he says softly. My name is Alex. It's very nice to meet you, Jack. The look he gives me as he stands back up is filled with confusion, hurt, and something that looks dangerously like hope. The gallery suddenly feels too small, too warm, too everything. Layla, he says, and his voice is rough with emotion. We need to talk. Around us, the charity event continues in full swing, oblivious to the earthquake happening in our little corner of the room. And all I can think is that this moment, this exact moment, is what I've both dreaded and longed for since the day I discovered I was pregnant. Yes, I finally managed to say, we do. The rest of the gala passes in a blur of forced smiles and polite conversation, but my mind keeps circling back to the way Alex's hands trembled when he shook Jack's hand. I've imagined this moment 1,000 times, but reality is so much more terrifying. Later that night, after I've tucked Jack into bed with extra kisses and his favorite story, I sit on my small balcony overlooking the moonlit beach. The text from Alex burns on my phone screen. Can we meet tomorrow? Please, Lila. I need to understand. I close my eyes, remembering all those unanswered messages I sent years ago. The calls that went straight to voicemail, the letters returned unopened, each attempt feeling like another nail in the coffin of what we had. Mommy? Jack's small voice startles me. He stands in the doorway clutching his stuffed whale. I can't sleep. I open my arms and he climbs into my lap, his warm weight both comforting and crushing. What's on your mind, baby? Faded over the gallery. Then, at the gallery, he hesitates, playing with the whale's tail. He has eyes like mine. My heart stops. Even at 5, he's too perceptive for his own good. Does he? Jack yawns. And he looked at me funny, like Mrs. Peterson does when she's going to cry but doesn't want to. I hold him tighter, breathing in his sweet shampoo smell, trying to memorize this moment before everything changes, because it will change. It has to. After I've settled him back in bed, I return to the balcony and finally reply to Alex's text. Coffee, tomorrow, 9 a.m. at Lighthouse Cafe. The response is immediate. I'll be there. I spend the night pacing, rehearsing explanations that all sound hollow. How do you tell someone they have a 5-year-old son? How do you explain that you tried to reach them until your hope ran dry? How do you protect your child's heart while potentially breaking their father's? Morning comes too quickly. I drop Jack at school, pressing an extra long kiss to his forehead. I love you more than all the stars, I whisper our usual goodbye. Love you more than all the waves, he responds, completely unaware that today might change his whole world. The Lighthouse Cafe is quiet when I arrive. Alex is already there, 2 coffees on the table. He stands when he sees me, and for a moment, I'm transported back to college, to stolen moments between classes, to dreams we shared, to the future we thought we'd have. I couldn't sleep, he says as I sit down. I kept looking at photos of him on the gallery's social media. He's mine, isn't he? I wrap my hands around the warm coffee cup, anchoring myself. Yes, the word hangs between us like a living thing. Gal, his voice cracks. Why didn't you tell me? And here it is, the moment I've dreaded for years. I pull out my phone, opening a folder I've kept all this time. I tried. For months, I tried. I slide the phone across the table, showing him screenshots of emails, logs of phone calls, pictures of returned letters. You disappeared after your father's stroke. Your number changed. Your emails bounced back. The letters came back unopened. His face goes pale as he scrolls through the evidence of my attempts to reach him. I never got any of these. I swear, Lila, if I had known, I thought you didn't want to see me, that a college fling was all you wanted from me. I pause, unexpected anger rising in my throat. I was met with a wall of silence from you, and that told me more than words ever could. Do you know what that feels like? To be 22, terrified, and completely alone? The coffee between us grows cold as memories I've kept locked away for years surge forward. Every morning, I would wake up sick, and every morning I'd reach for my phone, hoping today would be the day you'd call back. Every doctor's appointment, every ultrasound, I kept thinking, he'll be here for the next one. Alex reaches for my hand, but I pull back. The pain in his eyes mirrors my own, but I can't stop now. These words have been waiting too long to be said. And then Jack was born. My voice wavers. 3 days of labor, and the only person holding my hand was a nurse named Betty who stayed past her shift because she felt sorry for me. When they placed him in my arms, Alex, he looked exactly like you, and I knew I'd see your face every day for the rest of my life in our son. Lila, please. Now, you need to understand what you're asking for here. I lean forward, my voice urgent. This isn't just about us anymore. Jack, he's everything. He's sensitive and brilliant and trusting, and he believes in magic and happy endings and that the good guys always win. When he asks about you, which he does, God, he does, I tell him his daddy had to go away, but that he loved him very much. You told him I loved him? Alex's voice breaks. Because I needed it to be true, I admit, tears finally spilling. Because every time he'd come home crying because Tommy Harper's dad came to career day, or when he'd draw family pictures with just the 2 of us, I needed to believe there was a reason good enough to justify your absence. I pull out my phone again, fingers trembling as I open my photos. Here's his first steps. His first word was, moon, because we read Goodnight Moon every night. He's allergic to strawberries, loves the color blue, and has a birthmark on his left ankle shaped like a heart. He's scared of thunderstorms but pretends he's not because he thinks he needs to be brave for me. Alex takes the phone, his hands shaking as he swipes through the photos. I want to know him, Lila. Please. I want to be his father. And there it is, the moment that terrifies me most. What if you change your mind? What if the novelty wears off? Or your mother decides he's not suitable for the Cole legacy? Or... Stop, Alex says firmly, reaching across the table to take my hand again. This time I let him. I'm not that 22-year-old kid anymore, and I'm not letting anyone, not my mother, not the company, not anything, keep me from my son again. Alex asks about you most at bedtime, I say softly, when he's tired and his guard is down. He makes up stories about where you might be, saving the world, exploring jungles, finding treasure. The reality of you being here, being real. Alex, if this goes wrong, it will destroy him. And if it goes right? His thumb traces circles on my palm, achingly familiar. If it goes right, our son gets his father, and maybe... He doesn't finish the sentence, but I feel the weight of it. Maybe we get our second chance too. Maybe all those dreams we had in college weren't just dreams. Maybe... Home step at a time, I say, gently withdrawing my hand. First, we figure out how to tell Jack. And Alex? I meet his eyes, letting him see every ounce of mama bear protectiveness I possess. If you do this, if you become part of his life, there's no walking away. I won't survive watching him go through what I went through. I won't let him know that pain.
I can't sleep. The weight of Lila's revelations and Jack's familiar blue eyes, my eyes, keep me tossing in my hotel room. At 3 a.m., I finally give up and open my laptop, pulling up every photo of Jack I can find on the gallery's social media. God, he's perfect. In each picture, I see traces of myself, of Lila, of a life I should have been part of. There's one of him painting, his tongue stuck out in concentration, just like I used to do in college. Another shows him laughing on the beach, his dark hair windswept, looking so much like my childhood photos it makes my chest ache. Something's not adding up. I pull up my old email archives, searching for Lila's name. Nothing. Not a single message from the time after my father's stroke. It's like a black hole in my communications, which doesn't make sense. Lila and I were inseparable in college. Even if I was overwhelmed with the family crisis, would I really have ignored her completely? I start making notes. Father's stroke, March 2017. Mother took over managing communications to help me focus. New phone number issued through company. Old devices, where are they? Letters returned unopened. Who was handling mail? The more I write, the more suspicious it becomes. I remember how controlled everything was during that time, how isolated I felt, despite being surrounded by people, how my mother always seemed to know exactly what was happening in my life. My mother. She never liked Lila, always said she was a distraction from my real potential. During the crisis, she insisted on screening all my personal communications so I could focus on saving the company. I grabbed my phone, checking the time in Newport Cove. Too early to call Lila, but I need to know more. Did anyone else try to reach me? I text her. Besides the calls and emails? Her response comes quickly. She must be awake too. I came to your house once. Your mother said you were too busy to see anyone. Said you'd moved on, and I should too. The room spins. I feel sick. I need to check something, I text back. Don't give up on me again. I'm booking a flight home before I even finish the message. The family estate is only 2 hours away, and Dad's study has remained untouched since his recovery. If there's evidence, it'll be there. As I pack my bag, my hand brushes against the gallery program from last night. Jack's artwork is featured, a swirling ocean scene that shows talent beyond his years. My son. I have a son. And if my suspicions are right, if my mother really did what I think she did. I look at the program again, at the small artist bio next to Jack's piece. Jack Matthews, age 5, loves creating art inspired by the ocean and stories about brave adventurers. I'm going to be brave for you now, buddy, I whisper to his photo. I'm going to find out the truth, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for lost time. The sun is rising as I head to the airport, and with it comes a determination I haven't felt since fighting to save the family company. But this time I'm fighting for something far more precious. A chance to know my son, to make things right with Lila, to understand why I lost 6 years with them. And God help anyone who stands in my way. The Cole mansion feels colder than I remember, even in summer. Standing in my father's study, surrounded by the remnants of his life, I can hardly breathe. After meeting Jack, after seeing Lila again, I had to come here, had to understand. Alexander, my mother's voice echoes from downstairs. Dinner will be ready soon? I'll be down later, I call back, pulling another box from the closet. The label reads, Alex, Personal Items 2017. My hands shake as I open it. Inside, beneath a layer of dust, I find my old phones, tablets, and a stack of unopened envelopes. My heart stops when I see the return address. Lila Matthews. Not just one letter, but dozens. Each one unopened, each one dated during those crucial months after Dad's stroke. I sink into Dad's leather chair, the same one I sat in countless times during those frantic days of saving the family business. With trembling fingers, I open the first letter. Dear Alex, I've been trying to reach you. There's something important I need to tell you. Please call me. The second. Alex, I know you're dealing with your father's health, but this can't wait. The third makes my blood run cold. I'm pregnant. It's yours. Please, Alex, I need you. My vision blurs as I activate one of the old phones. It powers up slowly, revealing hundreds of missed calls, voicemails, and texts, all from Lila, all desperate attempts to reach me, all during a time when my mother insisted on managing my communications to help me focus on the business. Oh God, I whisper, pieces clicking into place, the way my mother would screen my calls, insisting on handling my personal correspondence. Her constant reminders that I couldn't afford distractions. Her subtle hints that Lila wasn't suitable for our family's position. Alexander, are you coming down? My mother appears in the doorway, elegant as always in her designer outfit. She freezes when she sees what's in my hands. Did you know? My voice is barely controlled. Did you know about these? She steps into the study, closing the door behind her. It was a difficult time. Your father was ill. The company was failing. Did you know? Each word feels like glass in my throat. I was protecting you, she says softly. You needed to focus on saving everything your father built. I have a son. The words explode from me as I stand, letters scattering across the desk. I have a 5-year-old son I knew nothing about because you decided to play God with my life. Alexander, his name is Jack, I continue, my voice breaking. He loves art and chocolate cookies and has my eyes. He's been asking about his father for 5 years while I was completely ignorant of his existence. How could you do this? The company would have failed, she protests, but her perfectly composed facade is cracking. You were so young, so easily distracted by that girl. That girl is the mother of my child. I'm shouting now, years of missing first steps, first words, first everything, fueling my rage. You had no right to keep this from me. I did what I thought was best. Best for whom? I demand, holding up the letters. Best for Jack, growing up without a father? Best for Lila, thinking I abandoned her when she needed me most? Best for me, missing out on my son's entire life? Tears streak down my mother's perfectly made-up face. I was trying to protect our legacy. Legacy? I laugh bitterly. You want to talk about legacy? My legacy is a little boy who doesn't know his father. My legacy is 5 years of birthdays and Christmases I can never get back. My legacy is the pain in Lila's eyes when she showed me all the ways she tried to reach me. I gather the letters and phones, shoving them into my briefcase. I'm going back to Newport Cove tomorrow. I'm going to meet my son, really meet him. I'm going to try to make up for 5 years of absence, even though it's probably impossible. And you, I look at her, this woman who shaped my life with her manipulations. You're going to have to live with what you've done. Alexander, please, she reaches for me, but I step back. Don't contact me for a while, I say, my voice cold. I need time to figure out if I can forgive you for this. And if Jack ever asks about his grandmother, I honestly don't know what I'll tell him. I leave her standing in Dad's study, surrounded by the evidence of her betrayal. As I drive away from the mansion, my phone buzzes with a text from Lila. Jack asked about you today. Through my tears, I smile. Because despite everything my mother did, despite all the time lost, I have a chance to be there now, and I'm never letting them go again. The sun is setting over Newport Cove when I knock on Lila's door. Jack is at his aunt's house. Lila texted me earlier to let me know we could talk privately. My hands are shaking, still raw from the confrontation with my mother, still clutching the bundle of unopened letters. When Lila opens the door, her eyes immediately go to the letters in my hands. "Can I come in?" My voice is hoarse from crying, from shouting, from the weight of everything I've discovered. She steps aside wordlessly, leading me to her small balcony overlooking the beach. It's cozy out here, with twinkling string lights and comfortable chairs. I can see Jack's toys scattered about, a bucket of shells, some action figures, a small easel. "I found everything," I start, placing the letters on the small table between us. "My mother, she kept it all. The letters, the phones, everything. She even—" I have to pause, fighting back fresh anger. "She even kept a diary of all the times you tried to reach me, like some twisted record of her protection." Lila sits very still, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. The ocean breeze plays with her hair, and all I want to do is reach out and touch her, to anchor myself in this moment. "I never knew," I continue, my voice breaking. "God, Lila, you have to believe me. I never knew about Jack, about your pregnancy, about any of it. My mother, she convinced me that you'd moved on, that letting you go was the mature thing to do. She intercepted everything, every call, every letter, every attempt you made to reach me. But Lila's voice is barely a whisper. "Because she thought you were a distraction. Because the company was failing, and she decided that my father's legacy was more important than—" I gesture helplessly. "More important than love, than family, than everything that actually matters." I pull out my phone, showing her the photos I've been carrying. "I found these too. Pictures of you, of us from college. I kept them hidden in my old room. Look at how happy we were, Lila. Look at how in love we were. Do you really think I would have walked away from that? From you? From our child?" Tears start falling down her cheeks, and it takes everything in me not to wipe them away. 6 years, she says softly. 6 years of thinking you didn't care enough to even respond. 6 years of watching Jack grow up without his father. 6 years of trying to convince myself that I wasn't a fool for loving you. You loved me? The present tense in her words catches me. She meets my eyes, and I see the same vulnerability I feel. Love isn't something that just goes away, Alex. Even when it hurts. Even when it should. I move to kneel beside her chair, taking her hands in mine. They're cold, despite the warm evening. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you and Jack. I'll tell him every day how much I love him, how proud I am to be his father. I'll show up for every art show, every school event, every skinned knee and nightmare. I'll prove to you both that I'm nothing like the person you thought abandoned you. And your mother? Lila asks, her fingers tightening around mine. I've told her she's not welcome in our lives unless she can prove she's changed. Jack deserves better than her manipulation, and you— I reach up to cup her cheek. You deserve an apology for every single day she stole from us. Lila leans into my touch, closing her eyes. I'm scared, Alex. Scared to trust this. Scared to let you in. Scared for Jack. I know, I whisper. But I'm not going anywhere, not ever again. We can take it slow, do this right. Let me prove to you both that I'm here to stay. When she opens her eyes, I see a glimmer of hope there. Jack has an art show at school next week. He's been asking about you since the gallery event. I'll be there, I promise. Front row, with flowers and embarrassingly loud cheering.
The gallery is transformed for tonight's summer exhibition, but all I can focus on is how natural Alex looks with Jack perched on his shoulders, pointing out his favorite pieces to anyone who'll listen. It's been 3 months since Jack's school art show, where Alex showed up with not just flowers but an entire art supply set that made our son's eyes light up like Christmas morning. 3 months of careful steps forward, of Alex showing up consistently, proving himself with every promise kept, of watching our son bloom under his father's attention and love, of my own heart remembering what it feels like to trust again. "And this one," Jack announces proudly to another patron, "Daddy helped me mix the colors just right." Daddy. The word still makes my breath catch. The first time Jack said it, 2 weeks ago over Sunday pancakes, Alex had to excuse himself to the bathroom to cry. When he came back, his eyes were red, but his smile could have lit up the whole coast. "You're staring," Alex whispers, suddenly beside me while Jack chatters with his art teacher. "Just thinking," I reply, accepting the champagne he offers, "about how different everything is from the last gallery event." He takes my free hand, a gesture that's become familiar again. "Good different?" "Scary different," I admit. "But yes, good, too. We've been dancing around this thing between us, this rekindled spark that feels both familiar and entirely new. Alex has been patient, focusing on Jack while letting me set the pace for us. But I see the way he looks at me when he thinks I'm not watching, the same way he used to look at me in college, but deeper somehow, more certain. "Come to dinner with me tomorrow," he says suddenly. "Just us." Jack already agreed to a sleepover at his aunt's. My heart speeds up. "Alex, I know you're scared." He squeezes my hand. "I know we have a lot to work through, but Lila, these past months, watching you with Jack, seeing what an amazing mother you are, rediscovering all the reasons I fell in love with you in college while finding new reasons every day." "Ladies and gentlemen," the gallery director's voice interrupts over the microphone. "If I could have your attention for a moment." Alex lets go of my hand, and I watch in confusion as he makes his way to the front of the room, taking the microphone. Jack runs back to me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Many of you know me as the Cole Foundation's representative," Alex starts. "But tonight I'm here as something far more important. I'm here as a father who was blessed with a second chance to know his incredible son." He looks at Jack with such love it makes my eyes water. "And as a man who has been given the miracle of reconnecting with the love of his life." The room goes quiet as Alex walks back to us, taking both my hands in his. "Lila Matthews?" His voice is soft but carries in the hushed gallery. "6 years ago I lost you through circumstances neither of us could control, but fate, or art, or maybe just pure luck, brought us back together. And I'm never letting you go again." He drops to one knee, and I hear gasps around the room. Jack bounces excitedly beside me. "I'm not asking for marriage, not yet. We have time for that," Alex continues. "I'm asking for a chance to be a family. Properly, publicly, permanently. I'm asking to wake up every morning and make pancakes with our son. I'm asking to love you, both of you, for the rest of my life. What do you say?" Through tears, I see Jack nodding enthusiastically. I see the hope and love in Alex's eyes. I see the future we could have, should have had all along. "Yes," I whisper, then louder, "Yes." The gallery erupts in applause as Alex stands, pulling both Jack and me into his arms. Over the noise, I hear our son's delighted giggle, feel Alex's heart beating against mine, and know that sometimes love stories don't end at the first chapter. Sometimes they just need a little time, a lot of healing, and the courage to try again. "I love you," Alex whispers against my hair. "Both of you, more than anything." And this time, when Jack says, "We love you too, Daddy," I let myself believe in happy endings again.
The Cole Industries boardroom falls silent as I slam the folder onto the mahogany table. My mother's perfectly composed facade cracks when she sees the Cole Foundation letterhead. "What is this?" she asks, but I can see in her eyes she already knows. "Your resignation," I say coldly, "from both the foundation and the board of directors, effective immediately." The other board members shift uncomfortably. This wasn't how the quarterly meeting was supposed to go, but I'm done playing nice. Alexander, surely we can discuss this privately. Like how you privately intercepted my mail, privately destroyed my family, privately kept me from my son for 5 years? My voice rises with each accusation. No, Mother, this happens here, now, in front of everyone. I turn to address the board. Ladies and gentlemen, I have recently discovered that during my father's illness, Mrs. Cole here took it upon herself to interfere with personal communications that directly affected the life of my son. She intercepted legal notifications of paternity, prevented contact between me and my child's mother, and deliberately destroyed evidence of my son's existence. It was for the good of the company, she protests weakly. The good of the company? I laugh bitterly. Let me show you what your good did. I pull out my phone, projecting photos onto the screen. This is my son's first Christmas, his first steps, his first day of school. All moments I missed because you decided to play God with my life. Those actions, our legal counsel speaks up, could constitute several federal crimes, including mail tampering and fraud. Indeed they do, I confirm, pulling out another document. The FBI has been very interested in my mother's systematic interference with federal mail and communications. They'll be here within the hour. My mother's face goes ashen. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You kept me from my son. The words explode from me. Do you know what Jack asked me last week? He asked if I missed him when he was a baby. How do I tell my 5-year-old that I didn't even know he existed because his grandmother was too obsessed with social status to let his father know about him? I was protecting our legacy. My legacy is my son. I slam my hand on the table, making her jump. My legacy is the hurt in Lila's eyes every time Jack asks about those missing years. My legacy is trying to make up for time that you stole from us. Alexander, please. She's crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm your mother. And I'm Jack's father. The difference is, I would never do to him what you did to me. I straighten my tie, addressing the board again. Mrs. Cole's actions have exposed this company to serious liability. The foundation's charitable status could be compromised. The only way to protect Cole Industries is to remove her completely. You can't do this to me, she whispers. Actually, I can. Dad signed everything over to me before he retired. I have full control of this company and anyone who works in it. The boardroom door opens and 2 FBI agents enter. Mrs. Victoria Cole? She stands on shaking legs. Alexander, don't do this. You did this to yourself, I say quietly. Actions have consequences, Mother. You taught me that, remember? As the agents read her rights, I gather my things. The foundation will be restructuring, I tell the board. My fiancée Lila will be taking over the Arts Education Initiative, and will be establishing a new program supporting single parents and children's advocacy. You're destroying everything I built, my mother sobs as they lead her away. No, I correct her. I'm building something better, something honest, something worthy of my son. Later that night, as I watch Lila and Jack painting together in our new Beachfront Homes studio, I feel the last weight lift from my shoulders. My mother's actions will have consequences, legal, financial, and social, but more importantly, they'll never hurt my family again. Daddy, Jack calls out, come paint with us. As I join them, getting paint on my expensive suit and not caring a bit, I know I made the right choice. Some might call it revenge, but I call it justice. Justice for every bedtime story I missed, every tear Lila cried alone, every moment stolen from us. And as Jack's laughter fills our home, I know that this messy, paint-covered, love-filled life, this is the only legacy that matters.
The beach at sunset has always been my favorite place in Newport Cove, but tonight it feels magical. Alex insisted on a walk after closing the gallery, and Jack is suspiciously at his aunt's again, complete with an overnight bag and a knowing grin I've never seen on my 5-year-old's face before. Remember our first date in college? Alex asks, his hand warm in mine as we walk along the shoreline. When you told me your dream was to live by the ocean, I smile, remembering that nervous 19-year-old girl with big dreams. And you said you'd build me a house on the beach someday? He stops walking, turning to face me. The setting sun paints everything in gold and pink, making his blue eyes, Jack's eyes, sparkle. I found it, he says softly. Found what? The perfect house, right here in Newport Cove. 3 bedrooms, a studio for you and Jack to paint in, and the most amazing view of the ocean. He pulls out his phone, showing me pictures of a beautiful coastal home just down the beach. It needs some work, but I thought, maybe we could make it ours. All 3 of us. My heart starts racing. Alex, these past 6 months with you and Jack have been everything, he continues, taking both my hands in his. Watching him grow, seeing him light up every time I walk through the door, falling in love with you all over again. Lila, I don't want to miss another moment. He reaches into his pocket, and I stop breathing. Jack helped me pick this out, he says, dropping to one knee in the sand. The ring he holds up catches the last rays of sunlight, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, the exact color of the ocean at dawn. He said it matched your eyes when you're happy. He also said, and I quote, "Daddy, you better not mess this up." I laughed through sudden tears. Lila Matthews? Alex's voice trembles slightly. You gave me the most precious gift in the world when you raised our son into the amazing little boy he is. You loved him enough for both of us when I couldn't be there. You built a beautiful life despite everything that tried to stand in your way. And somehow, miraculously, you found room in your heart to let me back in. He takes a shaky breath. I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that trust. I promise to love you and Jack with everything I am. I promise morning pancakes and beach walks and art supply shopping sprees. I promise to hold you through every storm and celebrate every triumph. I promise forever, if you'll have me. The waves crash softly behind us as he asks, Will you marry me? Jack really helped pick the ring, I managed to ask through happy tears. Alex grins. He had very specific requirements, blue like the ocean, sparkly like stars, and worthy of the best mommy in the whole world. His words, not mine, though I completely agree. I tug him up from the sand, wrapping my arms around his neck. Yes, I whisper against his lips. Yes to the ring, yes to the house, yes to forever. He slides the ring onto my finger with shaking hands before pulling me into a kiss that tastes like salt air and promises. And home. A delighted squeal breaks us apart, and we turn to see Jack running toward us from where he'd apparently been hiding behind the dunes with his aunt. She said yes, he shouts, launching himself into our arms. Alex lifts him up, and I wrap my arms around them both. My boys. My family. Did you help Daddy plan all this? I ask Jack. He nods proudly. I kept the secret for 3 whole days. That must have been very hard, I laugh, kissing his cheek. It was, but Daddy said it would be worth it because you'd be so happy. He touches the ring on my finger. Are you happy, Mommy? I look at Alex, who's watching us both with such love it makes my heart ache. More than I've ever been, baby. Good, Jack declares. Can we have ice cream to celebrate? Alex laughs, the sound carrying across the beach. Ice cream, pizza, whatever you want, buddy. We're celebrating. As we walk back up the beach, Jack between us holding both our hands, I realize this is what happiness feels like. Not the cautious kind I've known for years, but the full, overflowing kind that comes from having everything you never dared to dream of. I love you, Alex murmurs, over Jack's head. I love you too, I reply, squeezing both their hands. Both of you, more than all the stars. More than all the waves, Jack adds our familiar phrase. And as the first stars appear over the ocean, I know that sometimes the best love stories aren't the ones that go perfectly from the start. Sometimes they're the ones that break and heal and grow stronger in the broken places. Sometimes they're the ones that take the scenic route to forever. But they're always, always worth the wait.
Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed the story, hit subscribe so you never miss a new tale. Your support means the world. See you in the next chapter.